There are a couple of ergonomic models. One of them is fitting the person to the job. And this is basically based on physical conditioning, physical training, on-site wellness, but it is not a substitute for good ergonomics. Good ergonomic models are where the job is fit to the person. This requires changing the work design, changing workstations, and the changes are intended to reduce injury risks, and in some cases, eliminate them. The definition of ergonomics basically is that it removes barriers to quality production and to safe human performance by fitting the products, tasks, and the work environment to the worker. The core concepts for ergonomics are to work at the proper height, maintain neutral body position, reduce fatigue factors, maintain the appropriate reach zones, and reduce excess force. In ultrasound, these injuries are not caused by what we do, but how we do it. There are a number of changes you can make in your work postures. The most important thing is to always maintain neutral postures when you can. You want to make sure that your forearm is parallel or slightly below parallel. You want to make sure when you're seated that your thighs are parallel or your knees are slightly below your hips. You want to make sure that your neck is in a neutral position looking straight ahead. Neutral wrist positions can be obtained as long as you avoid too much ulnar deviation or radial deviation. Also, you only have about a 15-degree angle of flexion or extension before your wrist is out of a neutral posture. You would like to avoid this position and try to maintain this position. That may require changing how you hold the transducer in some instances. In order to reduce arm abduction and trunk bending, make sure that you move the patient closer. There's too much distance between the sonographer and her patient, causing her arm to be abducted to 90 degrees. By bringing the patient closer, the arm abduction has been reduced in this case. You also want to make sure that you work within what is known as your reach zone. And this is a zone that you can reach with your arms about 30 degrees from your body and only about a 30-centimeter reach. Occasionally you'll have to go beyond that zone, but you should always try to come back into the reach zone whenever possible. It's important to work at the proper height. Too low and your arm is abducted. Too high and you're bending over. There are ways that you can change your position or that of the patient to avoid these extreme postures. In this case, the sonographer is seated with her arms supported on the back of the chair and has no reach to her patient. To avoid bending and twisting, you just simply reposition yourself and the equipment. The sonographer is bent over and reaching. She could have had her patient roll up on her side. She would have been able to straighten her posture and reach the patient more comfortably. For an endovaginal exam, this sonographer has stepped in between the stirrups and can now keep her arm close to her body and avoid reaching. Neutral neck positions can be obtained by raising the monitor or changing your position. This sonographer could have had a seat and she would have been viewing the monitor at a more neutral position. One thing we tend to forget is how important seating is. It's important to have a height-adjustable chair and one that promotes the normal lordotic curve of our spine when we are seated. We want to avoid a slumped kyphotic curve. This is an example of the effects of body position on your spine. If you are lying down, you're putting about 56 pounds of compression force on your spine. When you stand up in a neutral position, you've almost doubled that force to 112 pounds. If you're sitting without any support, that force goes up to 157 pounds, and if you're sitting and bending forward by about 40 degrees, you're now putting 220 pounds of pressure on your spine. It is very important that you take advantage of the ergonomic features on your ultrasound systems. Make an effort to learn those features and then use them. Once you get used to repositioning the equipment, it becomes habit and it becomes much easier. In this case, if the sonographer had been able to raise the monitor, she would have had a more neutral body position and a more neutral neck position. Utilize the newest technology on your systems so that you can more comfortably perform your work tasks. Always reposition the monitor when you change positions and avoid working from behind the monitor as in this case. It's also important to utilize the ergonomic features of your ancillary exam room equipment. If your chair adjusts in height, take advantage of that adjustment and make sure that you are positioned comfortably and can see the monitor without neck extension or flexion. If you have an adjustable exam table, make sure to raise and lower that as necessary so that you minimize your arm abduction. And don't forget, your workday includes the computer workstation or the PACS workstation. That equipment should also be adjustable, and you should position the monitor of the computer and the keyboard so that you have avoided awkward, uncomfortable postures. But overall, one of the most important things to remember is to move. When are you not moving at all? That's right, when you're dead. So it's important to take the time when you go into your exam room to make it right. Make sure that you set up all the equipment so that you minimize your risk for injury. And that means minimizing your reach, minimizing arm abduction, and keeping your neck and body in neutral positions. Once you get used to setting up all the equipment, it will come fast and easy to you. We have to start being creative in how we do our work. We can't continue to use the same postures that caused these injuries to start with. As Albert Einstein said, the problems that exist in the world today cannot be solved by the level of thinking that created them. Thank you.